The Dark Knight is lying to us. The Joker had a plan and a very specific goal, even though everyone keeps presenting him as an agent of chaos, someone who only wants anarchy. But one question always comes up: why would Christopher Nolan need that? And I have an answer. So let's talk about The Dark Knight, the best Batman movie ever made, and definitely the most unusual version of the Joker ever shown on screen. Or more accurately, this movie has two Jokers. What? Okay, I'll explain everything soon. The making of the film, hidden details, and the answer to the biggest question in the movie: who is Heath Ledger's Joker really?
Why so serious?
Hi, this is 11 Slate. Believe it or not, The Dark Knight was in danger and might never have happened at all. After Batman Begins was warmly received, Christopher Nolan went off to make The Prestige, a project he had been developing for a long time with his brother Jonathan, about the rivalry between two magicians played by Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. But what the director would do next, he still did not know. At the very least, he would not want to return to Gotham City. But Warner Brothers, having tied its fate to Nolan, kept pushing him to change his mind. Or more accurately, there was an even more devious plan hidden here than anything the Joker had come up with. And we'll get into that in a couple of minutes. But first, we need to go through a little bit of backstory. This is important.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Batman Begins performed very well at the box office, but the next step had to be even bigger. After all, the ending of the reboot teased the arrival of the Joker, easily Batman's most popular enemy. This had to be a hit. David Goyer, co-writer of the first film in the trilogy, came up with the general outline of the story, and then Jonathan Nolan and Christopher polished it into a full movie, presenting the Joker in his most unusual screen version. As if they were trying to burn the studio's money, the filmmakers cast Heath Ledger as the evil jester, an actor who simply did not seem to connect in any way to the name of the clown prince of crime. After The Dark Knight came out, everyone who had complained about the casting and raged across the internet would feel like Thorin Oakenshield from The Hobbit.
I have never been so wrong in all my life.
Let's look at other versions of the Joker and understand one very important thing. They always had a motivation. The first was Cesar Romero from the famous 1966 series. Cheerful, theatrical, constantly clowning around, and mostly interested in successful criminal activity. His exaggerated behavior feels more like a tribute to the original comic book villain than a fully developed character trait. He's a funny clown because the script says so, not because it serves some deeper story function. The same cannot be said about Jack Nicholson in Tim Burton's Batman. This Joker is a gangster. His goal is simple and clear: revenge and reclaiming what he sees as his rightful place at the top of Gotham's criminal underworld. It's hard to call him a true funny man. The clown image is more like a way to cover the pain inside, to hide trauma behind a bright, colorful mask. Jared Leto's Joker is better left unmentioned in polite company, but his motivation is even simpler: basic old-fashioned enrichment. A spoiled, eccentric psycho enjoying a life of luxury. Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix, simply wanted recognition and a twisted kind of justice. It is still too early to talk about Barry Keoghan's Joker. This villain has not had a proper debut yet, and there's a chance he never will. We can also remember the twins Jerome and Jeremiah from the series Gotham, played by Cameron Monaghan, but their motivation is explained in great detail too. Abuse from their mother and hatred towards the whole world. And there is one more detail we'll keep for later. It'll come in handy and help prove that my theory is realistic.
See our friend down there, Baghead? He's figured out a way to solve that.
So yes, there is always motivation, even when the Joker is presented as chaotic evil. The closest version to that kind of uncontrollable villainy is probably the animated Joker, voiced by Mark Hamill. Lively, frightening, and unpredictable. And of course, Heath Ledger, an actor who created such a convincing villain that he became the symbol of the perfect comic book bad guy. This line was especially memorable.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
It was a very clear signal to the audience showing what the villain supposedly wants. But it's an outright lie. Just pay attention to the fact that the Joker never tells the truth. From the bank robbery in the prologue to the different stories about how he got his scars, to the address where he claims Rachel is being held. So his words about not wanting to kill Batman should also be treated as a lie. He absolutely wants to kill him, and of course he has a plan and a very specific goal. Do you have your own take on the Joker's motivation? Definitely write it in the comments below. I would love to discuss it with you. Or maybe Marvel heroes are more your thing. Then definitely check out my huge video about every single screen appearance of Spider-Man. Every version of Spidey, even the Japanese and Turkish ones. You'll learn a lot of unexpected stuff about this legendary superhero. Head over to the playlist after this video and enjoy the watch. But for now, let's focus on another part of my story. How is The Dark Knight different from the first film in the trilogy? Believe me, the answer to that question will lead us directly to the Joker's motivation. Or, more accurately, to the Joker's motivation. Compared to the first Batman film, Christopher Nolan returned to Gotham as a very different director. When he worked with major studios before, he still had to make compromises. He had to make a straightforward blockbuster, even if it looked fairly fresh in its pseudo-realism. The story definitely felt much more grounded than something like Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, but it still had room for fantastical elements. An ancient order of assassins that once destroyed Rome and burned London to the ground. A microwave weapon that turns water into steam, elegant monorails that would have looked more natural in Tim Burton's world. Just look at the Narrows, a slum that could hardly exist with such an elaborate layout inside a modern American city. That version of Gotham was part of Nolan's plan to create a completely different revolutionary kind of superhero film. It would have been impossible to make The Dark Knight first. No studio would have handed over a $185 million budget for a crime thriller set in a fairly realistic city with villains who have almost no superpowers at all. Only after proving that audiences wanted realistic superhero cinema could Christopher Nolan start making a film that truly matched his own cinematic taste. The main source of inspiration was Michael Mann's Heat, a crime epic about the confrontation between Al Pacino's tough cop and Robert De Niro's equally tough robber, where the city itself plays a major role. It almost becomes a full character. Nolan wanted the same thing from Gotham. He wanted the city to feel alive, and he wanted the audience to worry about it even more than they worried about the human characters. What's the first way we see Gotham? Wide streets, shot on an IMAX camera, with a threat placed right in the middle of them. The Joker heading off to his first major job. In this one shot alone, you can already feel the villain and his victim, the city itself, along with all of its people. It was extremely important to move the story into a real setting, so the audience would stop seeing the comic book movie as simple superhero spectacle. This was especially difficult after the previous Batman films, which had turned into a colorful party staged against studio sets.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Nolan needed not just to make a Batman film, but to attract viewers with a new approach. To show that these filmmakers were speaking an entirely different cinematic language and delivering real emotions. The director also rejected the basic superhero soundtrack. No fanfares, no swelling orchestral heroism. And during one of the most striking action scenes, Nolan removes the music altogether, only grinding metal, gunshots, and roaring engines.
He missed!
A risk? Well, that's putting it mildly. This was a revolution in superhero cinema, and he pulled it off by following a very clear plan.
Nobody panics when things go according to plan.
And now let's return to the Joker. Throughout the entire film, he keeps saying that he despises plans. Everything he does is pure chaos and nothing more. And the other characters agree with that, believing they're dealing with uncontrollable evil. But let's briefly follow the Joker's plan. The very plan that, according to Heath Ledger's character, simply does not exist. The Joker starts with small robberies and draws the attention of the police. Then he moves on to bigger targets so he can make contact with the mob. For example, he carries out a second-by-second plan for the bank robbery, killing all his accomplices and then blending into a line of school buses. Pretty impressive for a criminal who supposedly does not plan anything. Now here comes the question. Why does the Joker not kill William Fichtner's character during the escape? Isn't he supposed to spread chaos? Because he needs to earn the mob's trust. Even that eccentric moment is part of the bigger plan. Crime boss Gamble, played by Michael Jai White, is only eliminated after open aggression. He puts a price on the Joker's head. By taking him out, the villain gains personal control over a large piece of Gotham's crime family. It is very important for him to lead the criminal world. For power, but power is not just about money. Why did he bother robbing banks if later he can easily burn a mountain of cash? Because achieving what he wants alone is difficult, and not everyone in his gang is a psycho following some chaotic goal. Some people need to be paid. Then the Joker offers his services in finding Batman and declares war on him by killing a copycat. But this gesture is aimed not only at Batman but at the entire city. Throughout his crimes, the Joker constantly tells people where his scars came from, but the stories are always different. And he always does it in front of witnesses, so the rumors can spread further. So he can become a myth, a symbol of terror. Then he kills representatives of the pillars of power, the enforcers of state violence, the police, and the courts. But the main target is Batman. The Joker fulfills his deal with the mob and gets Lau, only to burn an enormous pile of money in front of ordinary criminals. And that fact genuinely terrifies him.
Tell your men they work for me now. This is my city.
The Joker destroys the image of Gotham's white and dark knights. He understands that simply unmasking Batman would only soften the victory over time. Boring. So he works against that and turns Mr. Reese, who knows the identity of Gotham's knight, into the target of an angry crowd. The final stage of his plan is the experiment with two fairies and the destruction of Harvey Dent's image. In the end, he fails because of self-sacrifice. The people on the fairies turn out to be more merciful than the Joker expected, and Batman takes the blame on himself, wiping out the villain's plan. Because he was in a rush, the Joker moved to the final stage too early, because he was afraid? So, what's the Joker's main motivation?
It's fair.
He says he wants to watch the world burn. He wants to prove that civilized people can turn into animals. And all of that is because the Joker is scared. Let's remember when we first learn about the Joker, and it does not happen in The Dark Knight. It happened at the very end of Batman Begins. And what happened shortly before that moment? Ra's al Ghul almost destroyed the city and released a huge amount of fear gas into the struggling neighborhood of the Narrows. That is when the Joker was born, and in that moment he saw Batman for the first time, and he was overwhelmed by pure terror.
You've changed things. Forever.
He's not talking about the fate of the city, he's talking about himself. Honestly, I've always been bothered by the fate of the people in the Narrows. Left alone with bloodthirsty psychos while also being exposed to Dr. Crane's gas? Are we supposed to believe they all got rounded up and treated? Very doubtful. And Nolan's trilogy politely avoids telling us what the real death toll of the League of Shadows attack on Gotham actually was. The Joker was one of the victims. He lost his mind while trying to survive. He had already been living in harsh conditions, and after the trauma he became a complete outcast.
When they don't, they'll cast you out. Like a leper.
You can feel his inner pain in this line. He experienced it himself, and he was not the only one, which is why the Joker can so easily find loyal psychopaths among Ra's al Ghul's victims. The guy with the phone in his stomach is also terrified of everything around him.
The boss said he'd make the voices go away.
Existing in the criminal slums outside government control, as many residents of the Narrows probably did. With his mind damaged, the Joker became chained by fear, and seeing only one possible choice in front of him, just like many people from dangerous neighborhoods. He knew for certain that fear can be defeated with terror. That idea gave him a goal. To stop being afraid, he had to become the one who caused fear. And his laughter is not mockery of his enemies, but an attempt to hide his true state. Laughter is a very common way to suppress neurosis. The body artificially tries to crush fear through an action perceived as the opposite of that state. Look at the Joker's laugh in the very end. This man is not enjoying himself at all. He only defeats fear when he is serious. For example, when he manages to get Lau out of custody. And for the first time in a long while, he can surrender to a moment of calm because he has won. Only by standing at the very top of the pyramid of terror can the Joker achieve his goal, defeating the inner fear caused by Scarecrow's toxin. After The Dark Knight, screenwriter Bruno Heller would use this idea openly and give Jeremiah from Gotham a similar motivation connected to Crane's gas.
Burn it all down.
The problem is that the Joker, trapped inside a cage of fear, does not understand that even if he breaks society and the greatest horror of his life, Batman, he still cannot win. He will never stop. He will keep escalating his terror until he dies in another battle with the forces of order. But that is his insanely tragic path. The path of a victim who tried to take control of his weakness, but chose the false road, the road of violence. So, why did Christopher Nolan never reveal his deeper motivation? The answer can be found in this line from The Prestige.
The secret impresses no one. The trick you use it for.
The answer is always too simple, and the audience will be disappointed. It's better to leave the search for truth to the viewers and never reveal what was intended, even if someone finds the correct answer. That's how a work becomes immortal. Not through answers, but through questions. The Joker tried to flip the social hierarchy, start a revolution, and failed, even after planning everything 10 steps ahead. Do you agree? Definitely write your opinion in the comments below. And do not forget to subscribe, because next we talk about another cult Christopher Nolan film, Inception, the legendary sci-fi action film accused of plagiarism. Just imagine, even Nolan's genius can be questioned. All the details in the next video. But the other Joker hiding behind Christopher Nolan's knightly dignity did succeed and reshape the blockbuster industry around himself. He turned the colorful children's superhero entertainment of the 90s into serious cinema that even the most biased snobs cannot dismiss as empty. As I said, there is a second Joker in this story, and that Joker is Nolan, a true madman who decided that stories from picture books could work not only for teenagers, but could carry serious dilemmas and reasons to think, unfolding in a world that felt as real as the newly rebuilt Gotham. But Nolan can control his fear and doubt, and that is why he is cold in his actions. He did not try to openly destroy the pillars of the film industry. He slowly infiltrated it, rebuilt it, and set new rules for intelligent entertainment cinema. You can change the system only by becoming part of it, and this clever, frankly brilliant director pulled it off. If we believe his interviews, Nolan constantly doubted the success of his films and feared failure. And in The Dark Knight, unlike the Joker, he did defeat the fear of failure through soft power and persistence. And now click the video on screen and move on to the next one. There's even more fascinating stuff in there. Thanks for watching. This is 11 Slate.